1. Yonaguni Monument. In 1987, off the southern coast of Japan, dive instructor Kihachiro Aratake discovered something that should not exist. Resting beneath 80 feet of water lay massive stone structures, terraced platforms, and what appeared to be stairways carved into the ocean floor. The Yonaguni Monument, as it became known, spans nearly 500 feet long and 130 feet wide. Its features include flat platforms, right-angled edges, and symmetrical shapes repeated throughout the formation. The precision resembles ancient architecture, not natural erosion. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura spent over a decade studying the site. He identified carved symbols, drainage channels, and post holes suggesting deliberate construction. His analysis indicated the monument was built between 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, when sea levels were significantly lower. If accurate, this would predate the oldest known civilizations by thousands of years. Western geologists dismissed his findings without visiting the site, claiming natural sandstone erosion. But erosion does not create right angles. It does not produce uniform stairways. It does not carve tool marks into stone surfaces. In 2001, American researchers requested permission for advanced imaging surveys. Japanese authorities denied the application, citing environmental protection. That same year, commercial dive tours to the exact location were approved. Kimura continued independently until 2007, when he discovered additional structures, including a stadium-like formation. Before publishing, his university terminated his research position. His documentation was transferred to archives, where access requests are consistently denied. The site remains visible to tourists, but scientific inquiry has stopped. The official position is natural formation. The evidence suggesting otherwise remains locked in archives, accessible to no one willing to investigate. If Yonaguni is natural, why silence the lead researcher? Why archive his findings? And if a prehistoric civilization built monuments now submerged beneath the Pacific, what else lies hidden that we are forbidden to explore? 2. Fate of the Waratah. On July 26, 1909, the SS Waratah departed Durban, South Africa, bound for Cape Town with 211 passengers and crew aboard. The ship, a modern passenger liner less than 1 year old, was considered one of the safest vessels of its era. It never arrived. No distress signal, no wreckage, no bodies. 211 people vanished without a trace in one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes in the world. The Waratah was last seen by another vessel, the Clan McIntyre, on the morning of July 27th. Officers aboard the McIntyre observed the Waratah sailing steadily in calm seas. Hours later, the ship had vanished. Search operations began immediately. The Royal Navy deployed vessels to scan the coastline. Aircraft surveyed hundreds of square miles of ocean. Nothing was found. Not a lifeboat, not a deck chair, not a single piece of debris. The official inquiry, conducted in London, could not determine the cause of the disappearance. Theories ranged from sudden capsizing to boiler explosion to rogue waves, but none explained the complete absence of wreckage. One passenger who had disembarked in Durban later testified that the ship felt top-heavy and rolled unnaturally in mild swells. He had changed his travel plans, choosing to wait for another vessel. His instinct saved his life. Engineers who examined the Waratah's design found the ship's center of gravity was higher than recommended. In severe conditions, this could cause rapid capsizing. But the weather on July 27th was recorded as moderate, not severe. Over the following century, multiple expeditions searched for the wreck. In 1999, a team using advanced sonar claimed to have located the Waratah off the South African coast. The coordinates were documented. Dive plans were prepared. Then the project was abandoned. Funding was withdrawn. The team dissolved. The coordinates were never publicly released. No verification dive was conducted. In 2004, author and researcher Emlyn Brown located what he believed was the Waratah using newly available sonar technology. His findings suggested the ship rested intact on the ocean floor, not shattered by explosion or collision. Brown requested permission to conduct a manned dive to confirm the wreck's identity. South African maritime authorities delayed his application for 3 years, then denied it without explanation. The Waratah remains officially unfound. 211 people remain officially unaccounted for. And the ship that vanished in calm seas over a century ago remains one of maritime history's most enduring mysteries. Not because it cannot be found, but because every attempt to find it has been quietly blocked. 3. The Kaz II mystery. On April 18, 2007, the catamaran Kaz II was found drifting off the coast of Queensland, Australia, with its engine running, sails up, and no one aboard. The 3 men who had set sail 3 days earlier had vanished. The vessel was in perfect condition. The table was set for a meal, laptops were open, Life jackets remained in their storage compartments. The emergency beacon had not been activated. There was no sign of struggle, no indication of distress, no explanation for why 3 experienced sailors would abandon a fully functional yacht. Australian authorities launched an extensive search, deploying helicopters, ships, and volunteers along the coastline. No bodies were ever recovered. No debris was found. The men had simply disappeared. Investigators examined every detail. Not the anchor was deployed but not secured, suggesting the crew had attempted to stop the vessel before something interrupted them. One of the boat's sails was damaged, consistent with sudden, powerful wind, but weather reports showed no storms in the area. A video camera recovered from the yacht contained footage recorded shortly before the disappearance. The men appeared relaxed, filming themselves fishing and navigating. There was no indication of concern, no sense that anything was wrong. The coroner's inquest concluded that the men likely fell overboard while attempting to retrieve a fishing line or clear a fouled sail. One went in, the others tried to help, and all 3 were swept away before they could return to the boat. But this explanation required all 3 men to enter the water simultaneously without activating any safety equipment, without grabbing life jackets, without calling for help on the radio that was within arm's reach. It required them to leave their vessel at the exact moment something prevented their return. Independent maritime experts questioned the findings. The Kaz II had safety rails, it had an accessible swim ladder, it had multiple methods to call for assistance. Experienced sailors do not leave a yacht without precautions, especially when the vessel is operational and close to shore. Alternative theories emerged. Some suggested the men encountered another vessel and were taken. Others proposed a medical emergency incapacitated all 3 simultaneously. Now, a few researchers noted that the Kaz II was sailing near areas known for unusual electromagnetic disturbances, though this was dismissed as speculation. Requests to reopen the investigation were denied. The case was officially closed in 2008. The Kaz II was sold, its records archived, and the disappearance of 3 men in calm waters aboard a functioning vessel was declared an accident. No bodies, no explanation, no further inquiry. Just an official conclusion that satisfied no one and answered nothing. 4. Phantom submarines of World War II. Throughout the Second World War, naval forces on all sides reported encounters with submarines that could not be identified, tracked, or engaged. These vessels, appearing on sonar and disappearing without explanation, became known as phantom submarines. The reports began in 1940, when British destroyers patrolling the North Atlantic detected submarine contacts that exhibited impossible characteristics. The vessels moved faster than any known submarine, dove deeper than operational limits, and vanished from sonar without surfacing or leaving debris. Royal Navy commanders assumed the contacts were advanced German U-boats, prototypes of secret weapons. But captured German records after the war showed no submarines in those locations at those times. The contacts remained unexplained. Similar reports emerged from the Pacific. American destroyers hunting Japanese submarines encountered contacts that accelerated beyond pursuit, changed direction instantaneously, and descended to depths where hull collapse was certain. When depth charges were deployed, no wreckage surfaced. When the contacts disappeared, they left no trace. In 1942, a British convoy escort reported tracking a submarine for over 6 hours. The contact maintained steady bearing, matching the convoy's speed exactly before suddenly diving to an estimated depth of 3,000 feet. No submarine in existence could survive such depth. The contact was never seen again. Japanese naval records, declassified in the 1980s, contained similar incidents. Imperial Navy destroyers reported phantom contacts near strategic bases, submarines that appeared, observed, and vanished without engaging. Officers who reported these encounters were often reassigned or instructed to amend their logs. After the war, Allied intelligence reviewed Axis submarine records exhaustively. Many phantom contacts could not be matched to any known vessel, German, Japanese, or otherwise. The contacts were real. They were tracked by multiple ships. They were recorded in official logs. But they belonged to no nation. In 1958, the United States Navy compiled a classified report on unidentified submarine contacts from World War II. The report acknowledged over 200 incidents that could not be attributed to known vessels. The document was not declassified until 2003, and even then, significant portions remained redacted. Modern researchers who requested access to the full report were told that certain sections remained classified for national security reasons. Sections from a war that ended over 75 years ago, describing submarines that no longer exist, remain too sensitive for public release. If the phantom submarines were enemy vessels, why do captured records show no matching deployments? If they were sensor malfunctions, why were they tracked by multiple ships simultaneously? And if the contacts represented something else entirely, Why is that possibility still classified decades after the war's end? 5. Antikythera treasure. In 1900, sponge divers working off the Greek island of Antikythera discovered a shipwreck containing the most significant collection of ancient artifacts ever recovered from the sea. Bronze statues, marble sculptures, jewelry, glassware, and coins, all dating to the 1st century BCE. But the most important discovery was not recognized for decades. Among the corroded debris was a lump of metal that would later be identified as the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient astronomical computer of extraordinary sophistication. The mechanism contained at least 30 interlocking gears, precisely engineered to predict celestial movements, lunar phases, and eclipses. The technology would not appear again in Europe for over 1,000 years. Its existence suggests ancient knowledge far more advanced than conventional history acknowledges. Yet the shipwreck that produced this artifact has never been fully excavated. The site, resting at a depth of approximately 180 feet, has been surveyed multiple times but remains largely unexplored. In 1976, Jacques Cousteau led an expedition to the wreck, recovering additional artifacts including skeletal remains and ceramics. But the expedition was cut short. Funding constraints, Cousteau claimed. The site was left untouched for decades. In 2012, a new survey using advanced robotic technology revealed the wreck extended far beyond the original excavation area. Sonar imaging showed objects buried beneath sediment, potentially including additional mechanisms or artifacts of equal significance. Researchers proposed a comprehensive excavation. The Greek government approved initial surveys but imposed strict limitations on artifact recovery. No items could be removed without extensive documentation and approval processes that could take years. By 2017, the project had stagnated. Lead researchers reported bureaucratic obstacles, permit delays, and funding redirections. The site that produced history's most sophisticated ancient artifact was effectively off-limits to comprehensive study. In 2020, an independent research team requested permission to conduct non-invasive imaging of the buried sections using ground-penetrating sonar. The request was denied. The Ministry of Culture cited preservation concerns and insufficient oversight capacity. The wreck remains partially excavated. Objects visible on the seafloor have not been recovered. The possibility that additional mechanisms, potentially even more advanced, lie buried beneath Mediterranean sediment has not been investigated. If the Antikythera mechanism was unique, its recovery would represent an isolated anomaly. But if additional devices exist at the same site, their discovery would prove the mechanism was part of a broader technological tradition. And that possibility, it seems, is not one authorities are eager to explore. 6. Treasure of the Flor de la Mar. In 1511, the Portuguese carrack Flor de la Mar, loaded with the greatest treasure ever assembled on a single vessel, sank in the Strait of Malacca during a violent storm. The cargo included gold, jewels, and artifacts plundered from the Malaccan Sultanate, estimated today to be worth billions of dollars. The ship went down off the coast of Sumatra. Its approximate location has been known for centuries. Yet, the wreck has never been officially recovered. Portuguese records documented the sinking in detail. Survivors, including the expedition commander Afonso de Albuquerque, provided coordinates and descriptions. Like the treasure was real. The location was recorded. The ship remains unfound. In the 1980s, treasure hunter Robert Marks claimed to have located the Flor de la Mar using historical records and modern sonar. He announced plans for recovery operations. Within months, Indonesian and Malaysian governments disputed jurisdiction, each claiming territorial rights to the wreck. Marks's expedition was blocked. Legal battles consumed years. By the time agreements were reached, Marks had moved on to other projects. The Flor de la Mar remained on the seafloor. In 1992, a Portuguese-Indonesian joint venture proposed a scientific excavation, with artifacts to be shared between institutions. The proposal was approved in principle, then stalled indefinitely. No excavation was conducted. In 2005, a Malaysian exploration company announced they had located the wreck using advanced magnetometer surveys. Press conferences were held, recovery plans were drafted, then silence. The company dissolved. No findings were released. The coordinates were never published. Researchers who investigated the failed expeditions found a consistent pattern. Each project reached the verge of recovery, then collapsed due to legal disputes, funding withdrawals, or government intervention. The treasure, within technological reach, remained perpetually inaccessible. Some speculate that the Flor de la Mar was secretly recovered decades ago, its treasures distributed among private collectors or government vaults. Others suggest that diplomatic concerns, particularly regarding colonial-era artifacts and national heritage claims, now have created an unofficial agreement to leave the wreck undisturbed. No official statement has addressed why one of history's richest shipwrecks, with a known location and proven technology available for recovery, has never been excavated. The treasure remains on the seafloor, the questions remain unanswered. And the pattern of failed expeditions continues. 7. SS Ourang Medan. In June 1947, multiple ships navigating the Strait of Malacca received a distress signal from the Dutch freighter SS Ourang Medan. The message was fragmented but chilling. The radio operator reported that the captain was dead. Officers were dead. The entire crew was dead. The final transmission consisted of 2 words: "I die." American merchant vessel Silver Star responded, locating the Ourang Medan drifting without power. A boarding party was dispatched. What they found has never been explained. Every crew member was dead. Bodies were scattered across the decks, in the wheelhouse, in the cargo holds. Their faces were frozen in expressions of terror, eyes wide, mouths open, arms raised as if warding off an invisible attacker. There were no wounds, no signs of violence, no indication of what killed them. Even the ship's dog was dead, teeth bared in a final snarl. The boarding party reported an unnatural chill despite tropical heat. Several men described feeling watched, sensing a presence they could not see. Before a full investigation could be conducted, fire broke out in the cargo hold. The Silver Star's crew evacuated. Minutes later, the Ourang Medan exploded and sank. All evidence was destroyed. No bodies were recovered. No cargo manifest was preserved. The ship disappeared beneath the waves, taking its secrets with it. Official records of the incident are contradictory. Lloyd's shipping registry contains no vessel named Ourang Medan. Dutch maritime archives have no record of the ship's construction or registration. Some researchers have concluded the entire incident was fabricated, but the Silver Star's crew logs documented the rescue attempt. Radio operators in the region confirmed receiving the distress calls. Multiple witnesses described the bodies, the expressions, the inexplicable deaths. In 1952, a German publication cited classified documents suggesting the Ourang Medan was carrying illegal chemical weapons, improperly stored, which released toxic gases killing the crew. The documents were never publicly verified. In the 1980s, where researchers obtained declassified communications from American naval intelligence mentioning the Ourang Medan incident. The files acknowledged the sinking, but offered no explanation for the deaths. Significant portions were redacted. If the ship was fictional, why do multiple independent sources confirm the events? If the crew died from chemical exposure, why were their expressions described uniformly as terror? And if the ship's destruction was natural, why does no official record of its existence survive? The Ourang Medan sank over 75 years ago. The mystery of what killed its crew and why every trace of its existence was erased remains unanswered. 8. USS Scorpion. On May 22, 1968, the nuclear submarine USS Scorpion, carrying 99 crew members, disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean while returning to Norfolk, Virginia. The sub had been conducting classified surveillance operations near the Soviet Union. When the Scorpion failed to arrive at port, the Navy launched a massive search. 5 months later, the wreck was located 1,500 miles southwest of the Azores, resting at a depth of over 10,000 feet. The submarine had been destroyed by a massive implosion. The official investigation concluded that a torpedo malfunction caused the disaster. A weapon had activated accidentally, forcing the crew to attempt emergency procedures that failed. The submarine sank. All 99 men died, but the evidence did not fully support this conclusion. Acoustic data recorded by underwater listening stations showed 2 distinct explosion signatures, not one. The first was consistent with external detonation. The second, occurring 91 seconds later, matched the implosion of a submarine hull under pressure. If the Scorpion was destroyed by internal torpedo malfunction, why were there 2 separate events? What caused the first explosion? Declassified documents revealed that the Scorpion had been tracking Soviet naval vessels in the days before its loss. The submarine's mission involved close surveillance of Soviet submarines and surface ships, operations that placed it in potential contact with hostile forces. In 1993, a retired naval officer claimed that the Scorpion was sunk by Soviet forces in retaliation for an earlier incident involving a Soviet submarine. The claim was dismissed by the Navy, but no alternative explanation was provided. Our requests to examine the wreckage using modern technology have been denied. The Navy has classified the Scorpion as a war grave, prohibiting physical contact with the hull. The vessel that might provide evidence of what actually happened remains untouchable. Family members of the crew have petitioned for the investigation to be reopened. They have been told that all available evidence has been reviewed and no new conclusions can be drawn. The case is closed. The 99 men aboard remain officially victims of an accident. But if the sinking was accidental, why do acoustic signatures suggest otherwise? If no hostile action occurred, why was the submarine's final mission classified for decades? And if the truth poses no threat to national security 50 years later, why is further investigation still prohibited? 9. The Baychimo. In October 1931, the cargo steamer Baychimo became trapped in pack ice off the northern coast of Alaska. The crew was evacuated by aircraft, leaving the ship frozen in place. When they returned weeks later, the Baychimo had vanished. She had not sunk, she had broken free. For the next 38 years, the Baychimo drifted unmanned through Arctic waters, spotted repeatedly by ships, hunters, and coastal communities. Each sighting confirmed the vessel remained intact, still floating, still moving, a ghost ship navigating impossible conditions without a crew. In 1933, a group of Inuit hunters boarded the Baychimo and found the ship frozen but seaworthy. They salvaged cargo before ice conditions forced them to leave. The ship drifted away. In 1939, the Baychimo was sighted near the coast of Alaska, still floating, still drifting. A salvage operation was proposed but abandoned due to weather. In 1962, a group of Inuit spotted the vessel near the Beaufort Sea. They reported it appeared largely intact, riding low in the water but still afloat. No salvage attempt was made. The last confirmed sighting occurred in 1969, when the Baychimo was observed frozen in an ice pack between Point Barrow and Icy Cape. After that, she disappeared. The Alaskan government officially declared the Baychimo abandoned in 1931. No salvage rights were ever claimed. No expedition was organized to retrieve or sink the vessel. For nearly 4 decades, a ghost ship drifted through some of the most dangerous waters on Earth, and no one attempted to stop it. In 2006, the Alaskan government launched a project to locate the Baychimo using historical sighting data and drift pattern analysis. The search, conducted using satellite imagery and aerial surveys, found nothing. Researchers proposed that the ship finally sank sometime after 1969, her hull compromised by decades of ice damage. But no wreckage has ever been found. No debris has washed ashore. The Baychimo simply vanished, as mysteriously as she had drifted. Some researchers believe the ship remains afloat, trapped in remote Arctic ice, waiting to be rediscovered. Others suggest she rests on the seafloor, her location unknown, because no one thought to track a ghost ship until it was too late. For 38 years, the Baychimo defied nature, logic, and probability. And when she finally disappeared, she left behind only questions and the lingering suspicion that the Arctic keeps secrets even the modern world cannot penetrate. 10. Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers departed Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a routine training mission. The flight, designated Flight 19, consisted of 14 experienced airmen led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor. They never returned. The mission was simple: fly east over the Atlantic, conduct practice bombing runs, then navigate back to base. Total flight time, approximately 2 hours. Weather conditions were fair. The aircraft were fully fueled and operational. 90 minutes into the flight, Taylor radioed that his compasses had malfunctioned. Both compasses, primary and backup, were inoperative. He could not determine his position or heading. The flight was lost. Over the next several hours, communications became increasingly confused. Taylor believed the flight was over the Gulf of Mexico, far from their actual position. He ordered the squadron to fly northeast, attempting to reach Florida. This took them further into the Atlantic. As fuel ran low, transmissions became fragmented. The last confirmed contact occurred at approximately 7 o'clock in the evening. After that, silence. The Navy launched immediate search operations. Over 300 aircraft and numerous ships scanned thousands of square miles of ocean over the following days. No wreckage was found, no bodies were recovered. No oil slicks, no debris, no indication of where the 5 aircraft had gone down. Then the search itself became part of the mystery. One of the search aircraft, Jockey PBM, Mariner flying boat with a crew of 13, also vanished that night. A merchant ship reported seeing an explosion in the sky shortly after the Mariner's last transmission, but no wreckage from that aircraft was ever recovered either. 27 men, 6 aircraft, all gone without a trace. The official investigation concluded that Flight 19 became disoriented and ran out of fuel over the Atlantic, ditching in rough seas that destroyed the aircraft and scattered debris beyond recovery. The Mariner was believed to have exploded due to fuel vapor ignition, a known risk with that aircraft type. But these explanations left questions unanswered. Why did both of Taylor's compasses fail simultaneously? Why could the aircraft not be located using radio direction finding? Why, in one of the most thoroughly searched areas of the Atlantic, was not a single piece of wreckage ever found? The incident became foundational to the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. Researchers have proposed electromagnetic anomalies, methane gas eruptions, and unusual weather patterns to explain the disappearances. None have been proven. In 1991, searchers located 5 Avenger aircraft on the ocean floor off Florida's coast. For a moment, it appeared Flight 19 had been found, but serial numbers confirmed these were different aircraft, lost in separate training accidents. Flight 19 remains officially missing. The Bermuda Triangle continues to claim vessels and aircraft with unusual frequency, and the disappearance of 14 men in 5 aircraft on a routine training mission remains, after 8 decades, unexplained. Conclusion. These 10 mysteries do not form a random collection of maritime misfortunes. They reveal a pattern of suppression, obstruction, and enforced silence that spans continents and centuries. From ghost ships found with their crews missing to submarines that vanished mid-transmission, each case demonstrates how the ocean guards its secrets and how human institutions help it. The mechanisms are consistent, expeditions are blocked, wreck sites are declared off-limits, research permits are delayed into irrelevance, evidence is classified, witnesses are dismissed, alternative explanations are ridiculed without investigation. The ocean conceals, and bureaucracy ensures it stays concealed. What has been lost beneath the waves is staggering. Ships loaded with history's greatest treasures. Aircraft carrying men on routine missions. Submarines with crews who trusted their equipment and their commanders. Ancient monuments that predate civilization. Each represents answers within reach, withheld by restrictions that serve no stated purpose. If the Waratah was located in 1999, why was the dive never conducted? If the Flor de la Mar's treasure is worth billions, why has every recovery attempt collapsed? If Flight 19 vanished in one of the most monitored regions of the Atlantic, why has no trace ever been found? These questions are not unanswerable. They are unanswered. The distinction matters. Evidence exists. Technology exists. The willingness to investigate does not. The ocean covers 71% of Earth's surface, and less than 5% has been explored. Yet we know more about the surface of Mars than about our own seafloor. That ignorance is not accidental. It is maintained by permit denials, funding redirections, and the quiet classification of findings that might rewrite history. Who decides what shipwrecks are worth recovering? Who determines which disappearances merit investigation? Who controls access to the depths? And what happens when they choose concealment over discovery? And the most unsettling question, if this much has been hidden, lost, or suppressed in the small fraction of the ocean we have examined, what lies waiting in the vast darkness we are forbidden to explore? The sea keeps its secrets. But the greater secret is who decided it should, and why we accept their decision without question.